Ask unanimous consent to submit my statement for the record, if I may.
No objections, so ordered.
Well, first, thank you very much for having this hearing, and I thank all the witnesses, especially having Senator Gene Fuller here. Your background, your understanding, the committees you sit on in California. And just for a quick edification, Gene and I represent an area called Kern County in California. It produces 70% of all the oil in California. It produces 7 to 8% of all the oil in the entire nation. 90% of all the fracking in California is in Kern County. Now, we have a graph up here. I don't know if you see it as well. This is the regulatory burden you go through to produce in California. Now, I laid out what we currently do, but we also have the Monterey Shale right throughout. Now, that has a bigger potential than North Dakota, and we've seen the economic growth of what's happened in North Dakota because of that. Even with all this resources in California, we still get 50% of our oil from 4 countries: Saudi Arabia, Ecuador, Colombia, and Iraq. If you look at the latest studies and you're concerned about environmental, we're much safer than those countries could ever be. Now, my challenge, and I want to turn to Gene. I know what we have gone through with Dogger and others to being able to maintain these leases, but I know Governor Brown signed SB 4, the Pavley fracking. I wonder if you could elaborate on that, of how you see, especially with this graph and others, because some of my communications, I was just talking to a couple the other day in the industry, especially the Independence, they do not have the resources to go through this with a combination of now going through the water and others, and especially with the committees you sit on. If you could elaborate the challenge that you see going forward and the potential for economic loss if we're not able to move.
Thank you. Well, I know that you're familiar with the biggest problem in our area, which is the small oil companies just do not have the resources, nor do the agencies that are now being mandated to do these new criteria to get applications out in a positive manner. And so they are hurt economically, as well as those reserves are not being able to be used. And that's the first biggest problem. The next biggest problem is that the agencies themselves are in trouble. We are trying to hire, I think, 500 more people just for one agency, and that won't even touch the needs for regulation that this bill spells out. And there is rulemaking that has gone on for over a year and a half that is almost complete, but the public is starting to get restive and wants to know exactly what we're going to do. So all in all, we had a very good safety record. We overlaid tremendous amounts of regulation that isn't even written yet, that will be the highest standard probably in the world. And we're doing this in a time when we need to actually streamline and speed up all the processes for those drillers that would like to be able to move forward and help our unemployment issue.
And some of the challenges I see based upon this new bill that you're going to go through, Halliburton has just laid some people off in the county. Oxy is splitting their company, where California is going to be by itself just because of the potential of where that's going, knowing what's happening in the country itself. If we want to become energy independent, and you see all the checks and balances you go through, we are more environmentally sound by the Yale report. If we don't produce in California, you don't get the resources for it, and knowing the economic challenges in California. But now we're buying our oil from 4 countries that do not have the same record as we do. The new layers that are going on, especially at the State Water Quality Control Board, those don't come out for another year. And have you heard from people in the district of, are they pulling back in investments or resources?
Just last week, as I was training one of the very large companies that provide equipment, they're telling me that they're likely to have to lay off up to 400 people in Kern County, in my area specifically, and that the biggest problem they're having is there's so much competition for all this equipment, expertise, and personnel in the other states that are actually fracking and using their shale, that equipment just can't stay out here, and those people are leaving, and we are losing the infrastructure we need to be able to continue to develop this resource. So it's not only the producers themselves, it's those companies that support all the equipment and training, the drilling, that are being pulled to other states. And that is hurting our economy immediately, but overall, it will continue to diminish our potential to do something with this shale. And I need to say, just for most of you, that most of the shale actually is in the southern San Joaquin Valley, along the foothills where unemployment is the highest inland in California. So it's Monterey refers to the geologic age, not its location.
And the one thing compounding here, our drought in California, this is an area that, if you've read The Grapes of Wrath, this is the shanty town where people ended up in. This is middle class, hardworking. We've been producing oil there for more than 100 years. The challenge now is not our ability to find it, our ability of government allowing us to be able to produce it in a sound way. And the layers that are putting over are actually splitting the largest oil companies in the country to have to split because they're associated with California. And that's a fear and challenge, but I thank you for your work and I yield back.
Okay, thank you.